What's up, everybody? Welcome to the NFL Experts Roundtable, sponsored by DraftKings. I'm your host, Jeff El Jefe. I'm here with a couple of my buddies. I'll start off with JM to win before your internet cuts out, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, apparently you're here with one and a half of your buddies because you guys keep telling me that my internet's not great. So I don't know what's going on. Never had problems before. Hey, and before Adam jumps in and says something about me being cheap and upgrade to the good internet, I do have the good internet. So
you have your neighbor's good internet. That doesn't.
I don't know what's going on in the Pacific Northwest tonight, but we'll do our best.
All right, Adam, snarky comments.
Well, I mean, today was an awful day. I mean, do you guys realize that Twitter was down today? I mean, I now know what hell feels like. I was sending, like, my Twitter was working and I was sending tweets and I was getting no feedback. Is there anything worse in the world than that? Because, I mean, everybody's Twitter was down. I don't understand. So I hope that never happens again. I mean, that was awful. No matter
all the Virgin Basement nerds couldn't respond to you.
That's what I'm saying. I felt so alone. Like, whatever presidential candidate can fix this internet attack situation is the one I'm voting for.
Now you know how Draft Cheat feels when he tweets and everyone just ignores what he says. But yeah, Twitter was really interesting trying to write some preseason NBA content, not having Twitter available. That's impossible. That's for sure. But yeah, it was certainly an interesting day for sure overall. Adam, talk to me about this slate. What do you think? Cash game slate, chalky, bunch of pivot options.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about the injuries this week. You know, we got so much injury news after the salaries came out. I mean, I was like overwhelmed on Wednesday and Thursday, just trying to keep up with everything that was going on. I mean, we have so much going on with, obviously LaShawn McCoy is big, but there's been so many other injuries. The Doug Martin thing happened. The Vincent Jackson thing was kind of unexpected. Carlos Hyde situation. I'm sure there's a bunch more that I'm missing that we can get to, but yeah, it's just like there's so much value that I think a lot of people are going to go cheap running back, expensive wide receiver, and then figure out the rest from there. But we'll see. I mean, the expensive wide receivers are certainly in really good spots. I'm sure we'll get there.
I'm so excited to play Doug Martin when he comes back. Is that crazy, Adam?
You're excited to play Doug Martin when he comes back? What makes you think he's going to come back anytime soon?
I don't know if he's going to come back anytime soon. I'm just saying, like, once he comes back, I think that's going to be a guy that wins someone a big tournament. No?
Yeah, I saw you say that on Twitter. Why?
He's good, dude, and no one knows he's good. He was good all last.
You don't know what his matchup will be when he comes back, if he'll share the workload, how healthy he'll be?
I don't think he'll share the workload. I don't know what his matchup's going to be when he comes back, but I'm not saying I'm going to like go all in.
Adam's like a storm cloud over there.
That's just a weird.
Let me have my fun, Adam. Come on.
Where's a weird take? We're talking about a dude who might be out for like next month.
I'm just saying, dude.
I was excited about Doug Martin this week before he was injured. So I mean, I can see Doug Martin before he was injured. So I can see what you're saying.
Thank you, JM. I feel like you're going to be on my side all night, and then Adam's just going to be banging us down, like, you know, not letting us have any fun. Like, we know where the disagreement's going to come because we've talked a little bit this week, but it's going to be fun. I'm glad I have someone on my side for once. That's good. JM, what are your thoughts overall on this slate?
Yeah, so I feel like we haven't had a lot of these this year where the running back position where we just have cheap running backs at high volume. So that's my favorite spot to go. There's going to be plenty of people who still look to try to pivot, you know, off of. It's like last week with people asking me all week about, you know, pivoting off of Cameron Meredith, or this week pivoting off Ty Montgomery. And I'm sure as we get closer, people will be asking about pivoting off Mike Gillislee or off of Jaquiz Rogers or whoever else, you know, the value ends up being. But in these spots when you're going to get 20-plus touches on the cheap and good matchups, I love that. And then figure out where to differentiate in other spots.
So let's talk about quarterbacks. We're going to go position by position, mainly focus on DraftKings, the pricing and scoring, but we might mention FanDuel. Every once in a while, I think there's a FanDuel quarterback we can mention that's worth a play. But, Jam, I'll start with you, man. How are you building your lineups at quarterback?
So there's a lot that I like at quarterback this week. I think Tom Brady has probably the highest raw points projection. It'd be easy to say Matt Ryan and Phillip Rivers, but if you look at the way the Falcons have played this year, when they can attack teams on the ground, you know, Matt Ryan threw only 30 times against the Saints. He threw only 28 times against the Broncos. The Chargers are actually worse on the ground than they are through the air. So I think I think Ryan's going to have a good game, but we could see them attack on the ground more than people are anticipating. And if that happens, then his ceiling's a little bit lower. I don't think we have to be concerned about whether or not Brady's throwing. It's a funnel spot, and the Patriots are just going to throw the ball, 35 plus times regardless right now. But there are some cheaper guys that I like as well. I like Andy Dalton a lot. The Browns have allowed at least 275 passing yards in all but one game this year. The one when they didn't, Kirk Cousins threw 3 touchdowns. They've allowed 3 touchdowns in 4 straight games. Blake Bortles against Oakland is a good spot. We'll go overlooked. Derek Carr in that same game is in a good spot. We'll go overlooked. And then I'll wait on the guy that we're going to get pushback from Adam on and see if there's anybody I missed so far.
So let me start with this, Adam. Derek Carr, West going East. You did some research on that in the preseason, right? And whether that is actually a real thing. What do you feel about the Raiders in this spot against the Jags? An underrated defense, I think.
Yeah, it turned out that surprisingly enough to me, it wasn't really a real thing. And obviously the sample size is somewhat small on that. There hasn't been that many instances. But yeah, for quarterbacks, there wasn't a huge downgrade for them going West East for a 1 p.m. Eastern start. I think Bortles is a better play than Carr due to matchup, due to being at home. But I guess you can make a case for Carr. I don't know. He wasn't really one of my guys on my list. I mean, I'm all about going after the Browns, and you guys didn't want to play Ryan Tannehill when he played the Browns. You guys didn't want to play Kirk Cousins when he played the Browns. You guys
played Kirk Cousins. Let's all be friends here. I played Kirk Cousins in cash and tournaments that week. All right, let's chill out.
You didn't want to play Marcus Mariota when he played the Browns. You didn't want to play Joe Flacco when he played the Browns. You didn't want to play Carson Wentz when he played the Browns. And the dude, everybody just goes ham on the Browns. So now it's the Red Rockets' turn to go ham on the Browns. And he might get Tyler Eifert back. Joe Hayden is going to miss this game with his groin injury. I think from a price perspective, and we can just get right to it. I don't see why you would spend whatever Kaepernick is, like $5,300, when you can have the Red Rocket for $700 more. I mean, what's $700 among friends? You know what I mean? I don't understand why you would play Kaepernick at home. I understand it's a good spot. I agree Tampa has a funnel defense, but I think we can all agree that Dalton has a better matchup. And it's $700. I'd rather play Winston than Kaepernick. I'd rather play Mariota than Kaepernick. And I'd definitely rather play Dalton than Kaepernick on DraftKings specifically.
Well, you let the cap out of the bag. That's exactly where.
There you go.
Puns.
Good.
Puns.
Did you have that one set up before the show or no?
I really didn't. But for the last 15 seconds, I was waiting for Adam to stop talking so I could say it. But yeah, no. So Kaepernick is a guy that James and I are interested in. I'm sure I'll just get the 49er bias and everyone just kind of ignore me, which is totally legit. I don't blame people for that, but just look to last week, what he did. And he played about as poorly as he could have and ended up with 18 DraftKings points. I mean, this is a much better matchup for him at home against Tampa Bay. I think he has huge rushing upside. The fact that Carlos Hyde is out gives him a lot more touchdown equity. And I think that he is an incredible play for the price. Love him on FanDuel as well. So I'm going to have a lot of Colin Kaepernick. What about you, JM?
Yeah, so I've gotten shouted down all week on Kaepernick. I got shouted down on my Monday podcast. Levitan and Pete Jennings tried to make me feel like a donkey.
Typical Pete.
I was a guest on the Fantasy Labs podcast. I'm never going back because trying to talk me down about Kaepernick. But no, I get Adam. I get what you're saying. Dalton's a safer play by far. But if you're talking tournaments, I mean, there's a 40% chance that Kaepernick outscores Dalton this week. I genuinely think that, and he's going to be way lower owned. So even taking price out of the equation, if they were the same price, I would be toying with the idea of Kaepernick in tournaments. I'm running into some teams where that extra $700 in savings, I don't feel like it actually improves my team in other spots. So I'm kind of back and forth between those two for tournaments, but I could see Kaepernick having a better game. Like Jeff said, the rushing upside's there. He was 13 of 29 last week. And the Bills allow so few opponent plays. He only got to throw the ball 29 times. He's going to throw it 35 times this week. Carlos Hyde's out. There's a lot to think about it.
So, Adam, you're kind of like my ownership percentage savant. What do you have these guys projected at?
Yeah, I think Kaepernick will be in like the 4% range, and I think Dalton will be like 8 or 9. I mean, I don't think it's anything huge on any of the. I think the most owned quarterback this week will be Matt Ryan,
Oh, yeah.
and I certainly like Matt Ryan, and I certainly like Tom Brady. I do think they'll be the two most owned, especially with all this value that we got. But like, just my last point on Kaepernick, I'll say is like dudes whose weapon. I understand his rushing upside, and believe me, I love rushing upside. His receivers are Quentin Patton, Jeremy Curley, and Torrey Smith, who's questionable with a back injury. Like, I'm even afraid to roster Ty God when he doesn't have Sammy Watkins, and he at least has an Olympic sprinter, and he had Robert Woods. He won't have Robert Woods this week, but like, I don't know. I just 13 from 29. Like, oh yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Like, if Kaepernick goes 13 for 29 this week, would not surprise me whatsoever.
Just look at the replacement value of those receivers, though. Like, what's the drop off really to go from hurt Torrey Smith to whoever his backup is going to be this week? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that
hurts
hurts
off the street. Yeah, it doesn't even matter. That's who he's got.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's who he had last week, and that's who he's had like his whole career pretty much. He had Bolden, but I mean, like, he doesn't have guys to throw to, and he still performs. When you have that much rushing upside and, like I said, touchdown equity, I just think that you don't need a ton of weapons to give you a bunch of upside. But
this is like a theme of ours, the 49er quarterback.
I know it's annoying too. This has nothing to do with being a Niners fan.
This is better than any Gabbert take you've ever had. This is at least in consideration.
Like the
Gabbert
one
was never in consideration.
The one where he had like 35 fantasy points, where I said where I called that game.
Yeah. If you want rushing upside, what about Marcus Mariota, who's rushed at least 7 times in back-to-back games after not rushing at all in the first? After only rushing 7 times once in his first 16 games of his career, and he's facing Indy at home.
Yeah. So what do you think? What do you attribute that to? The increase the last 2 games, like you said, he has 7 rush attempts. Is that a new game plan they're going to be doing moving forward?
I'll be honest, I haven't watched. According to people that I've talked to, they said that he had been getting more read option called for him, especially around the goal line. So, yeah, I think that they see in order to win games, they need to unleash him at some point there. And 7 rushes isn't like a ton. I mean, Cam Newton, when they need wins, rushes 9, 10, 11 times. So I think 7 is somewhat fair for Marcus Mariota.
Mildly interesting for sure for me. But, JM, talk to me about some other quarterbacks you might be interested in.
Yeah, I mean, Mariota is high on my list as well. I get concerned when we see these statistical outliers and then want to trust them. I mean, he could easily go back down to 4 rush attempts, but I mean, yeah, like Adam, like you said, they have been calling, more designed runs for him. And maybe it's just an issue of, this is Mike Mularkey's team now. And, like, I don't want to try to get inside some coach's head, but, maybe there's an element early on of just not wanting to truly put his stamp on the team and maybe being a little, gun shy in his play calls. But yeah, like this is a great spot for Tennessee this week against Indianapolis. It's an atrocious defense, and DeMarco Murray is obviously strongly in play, but so is Mariota. And you can pair them together because DeMarco Murray leads the Titans in red zone targets. He has 5 targets inside the 10-yard line this year, so which is near the top of the league. So yeah, I mean, like I like Mariota this week. I think his floor is a little bit lower, but especially because I expect the Titans to control this game. But, yeah, I like Mariota this week.
Well, that's the thing. I like those situations. I like using Delaney Walker the week after he disappointed everyone. I like using DeMarco Murray. I like using A.J. Green. Like, I'm going to get exposure to those other quarterbacks in other ways by using the guys that they're throwing to. Kaepernick, I'm comfortable with using naked. That's pretty much what else are you going to do? Use Torrey Smith, I guess, if he ends up playing. But maybe Sean Drone. We could talk about that in a minute. But Adam, any other quarterback thoughts?
Yeah, I actually didn't look at any lineups yet on FanDuel, but I think that Blake Bortles is like super cheap over there, if I'm not mistaken, and I think that makes sense.
Okay, Jam, thoughts?
Yeah, Bortles is 7,400, I think, on FanDuel, which proportionately is cheaper than a lot of those other quarterbacks. And then if we want, we can touch real quickly on Geno Smith, who we all kind of mentioned like an hour ago. So there's another, bad. I think it depends a lot on if Jimmy Smith is back. We saw what Odell Beckham did to the Ravens after Jimmy Smith went down. I'm not really that interested in Geno, but I have, more money in play on DraftKings, which is where I'm focused. So Geno's, proportionately cheaper on FanDuel. So you guys have any thoughts on him?
Yeah, I think specifically on FanDuel, anytime a quarterback is 5K, it deserves consideration because there's just such a massive difference. It's not like on DraftKings when a guy is minimum salary at quarterback, it's like, oh, whatever. There's guys only 500 or 1,000 more. On FanDuel, when a guy is 5K, he's like 2,500 less than anybody else. It just makes such a huge difference. So yeah, I think that the Jets are going to play well, and I think Geno actually gives them a spark. Like he's definitely not worse than Ryan Fitzpatrick. And people were like excited to roster Ryan Fitzpatrick when he played the Steelers in that game a couple weeks ago. So I don't
He's
have
definitely not worse than Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Ryan Fitzpatrick was 35th out of 35th in Pro Football Focus.
This year, Fitzpatrick has been bad. Like Fitzpatrick was better last year, but I guess
there's no way Geno is doing what Fitzpatrick did last year. There's no chance.
No, not last year.
This year.
But I'm saying, like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, Geno doesn't have that in him. Fitzpatrick has it in him to be a decent quarterback, right?
I
don't know. But anyway, so yeah,
you have to get there. But yeah,
I think we talk a lot about the standard deviation at quarterback and how it's like all grouped together. And it's like when you can spend that little on a quarterback on FanDuel, like it's almost a no-brainer if the guy has any sort of upside at all. So don't mind that play. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it myself, but I can't talk someone out of playing Geno Smith on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I don't think you do it because the price difference isn't as great. But let's move on to running back. So Adam, I'll start with you at this position. What are you seeing that you like? Do you have any insight onto whether LeSean McCoy is playing? And talk to me about the position.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if LeSean McCoy played. Running backs coach Anthony Lynn came out on Thursday and said, we're not going to do what we did last year. If he's 85%, we're not going to put him out there and let him aggravate it. And to me, he got very few reps in practice today. To me, it seems like he's going to be less than 100%. And if they stay true to their word, they won't play him. So that would obviously thrust Mike Gillislee into, I think, 15 touch floor in this game against Miami at 3K. So that's obviously.
Adam, what do you think if we actually have McCoy active? Do you think there's a chance he's active and then is mostly on the sidelines?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've seen that a couple times over the last couple of weeks with Will Fuller, with Sammy Coates. I mean, it happens. You know what I mean? There's so much other stuff going on at running back. I don't know if I then need to force Gillislee. I mean, I was playing Spencer Ware a ton regardless. And then we get the news today that Jamal Charles is having a little bit more setbacks, has some swelling in his knee, and he's listed questionable. I mean, I kind of think he'll end up playing, but who knows? And I love how everybody's just like shocked. Like people underestimate how hard it is to come back from an ACL tear. And now he's having problems with it, you know, and Spencer Ware is just such a beast. And I don't want to use Alex Smith, just like we talked about last week. I do not want to use Alex Smith. I want to use the run game. I mean, Spencer Ware, to me, I want to use him no matter what. Last week, that snap count was 40 to 15 in favor of Spencer Ware against Jamal Charles. This week, it could be 0 snaps for Jamal Charles, but I doubt it'll be anything more than 15. So Spencer Ware, to me, is an awesome play, and DeMarco Murray is obviously the no-brainer kind of a top-end lock play.
Yeah, I think people are having a problem accepting the Jamal Charles thing because he's done it before, come back and been dominant. The problem is he's older now, and this is his second big knee injury, so it's being a problem. All right, JM, like your thoughts overall on the running back position and what Adam has talked about here?
Yeah, so I'm going to have Jaquiz Rogers and Mike Gillislee like almost no matter what this week, just because if you can get that much volume, that cheap, I want to take it. Because a bad game from them is still going to be 9, 10, 11 points. But I get, you know, the talent gap is there's a difference, but I'll almost certainly have those two. I'm planning right now. I'm planning on having Gillislee even if McCoy is active, because that's my thought is I don't think they're going to really push McCoy, and they might even be dragging out this decision just to, you know, throw the Dolphins off. And if that's the case, you know, they might have him active just to throw him off, that's what I would prefer, because then you kind of get people move off of Gillislee at 3K, and you know, you get some lower ownership on him. But I'm with Adam. I mean, it's like you want to look for differentiation, but I think we all kind of agree that wide receiver is a more volatile position.
Sure,
that's an easier place to get upside that people aren't on. I mean, like you could look to Melvin Gordon's in a good spot against Atlanta, and he's priced between Spencer Ware and DeMarco Murray. Devontae Freeman's in a good spot. Matt Jones, like I liked Matt Jones at the beginning of the week in a tremendous matchup against Detroit. He's going to get 15 plus carries. but it's really tough to fade like just this great value. Spencer Ware, the only concern for me with him is, if he's not splitting work with Charles, he's still going to be splitting work with Charkandrick West. We've seen it all season. They're not going to put him out there for the full workload. Like DeMarco Murray's 1,400 more, and it's pretty nice to be able to bank on 25 touches in the same matchup that Lamar Miller crushed last week. But yeah, I mean, I like all those guys, and I have a harder time moving off those guys at running back than I do moving off some of the popular wide receivers.
Did either of you guys bring up Le'Veon or David Johnson? Expensive guys at lower ownership than usual?
I like both of them. Yeah, go ahead.
So I just think that this is the type of week where you have to pay up for running backs like that to get that kind of upside. We talk about the position of wide receiver having a lot more upside in general, but when you get guys like Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson that are so versatile in the passing game and are going to get a bunch of touchdown equity, like those are guys that you want at low ownership. And Adam, again, you're the ownership expert. Aren't we looking at like 10% for these guys?
Yeah, and maybe even less. I mean, I think everybody's going to play DeMarco, and now everybody's going to play Spencer Ware if they're going up, and obviously everybody's going to pay down for those two guys we obviously previously mentioned before. I mean, Le'Veon Bell in the 4 games without Big Ben last year averaged 24.5 touches, averaged over 120 yards, scored 2 touchdowns. Like, the dude won't be stopped. I will say that I think the Patriots will do whatever they can to take out Le'Veon Bell in this game. I'm not sure if you can, but they'll try to do that instead of Antonio Brown because Landry Jones just strikes no fear in anybody. And David Johnson is just a total freak. Like, it doesn't matter the matchup. He's going to do it. Like, I absolutely love David Johnson in general. I think he's a great play too for tournaments.
Adam, you also had a tweet about Le'Veon Bell's usage, right? It goes up a little bit when Ben isn't the quarterback.
Yeah, I just said 24.5 touches. Okay. I mean, last year in the 4 games, I have a off the board play I can run past you guys.
Yes. Let's hear it. Yes.
I don't even know if I should share this with our listeners. That's how.
No one's listening. We're good, man.
Jeremy Hill has been battling a pectoral/shoulder injury for the last couple of weeks, and we've seen also the Bengals fall behind in back-to-back games to the Cowboys and to the Patriots, and they've fallen behind big in both of those games, and it's led to just a massive snap count advantage for Gio Bernard, and it's also led to a situation where even when they get around the goal line, they gave the ball to Gio Bernard. Gio Bernard got 3 carries from the 1-yard line last week, failed on all 3. Now reports are that Jeremy Hill is 100% healthy. He has not been on the injury report at all, and now he's home against Cleveland, where I fully expect Cincinnati to have a lead. So I kind of like trying to get one of these multi-touchdown games out of Jeremy Hill at 4K at like 2%. So, yeah, I like that.
That's sexy, dude. I like it. JM, you have anything that can
I started to get excited when Adam started on his whole I got a sneaky play. But I feel like there's been 3 times or 4 times on the show before where Adam's been like, I don't know if I can even say this play out loud. I don't want to give it away. And then every time the play just sucks. So pattern recognition, I want to fade Jeremy Hill this week. And,
okay. Well, everybody's fading him. That's the point.
I thought we were all friends here, man.
I'm going with the pattern recognition. Like I moved on to Matt Stafford last week. I said last week, every week Adam has one call that I'm like, I didn't even think about that. And it ends up being right. And last week I said during the show that it was probably going to be Stafford, and it was, but it's not Hill this week. So
Matthew Stafford went ham. What are you talking about?
That's what I'm saying. I used him, and you were right last week. This isn't the call. I'm saying Hill isn't the call. There'll be something else later in the show, maybe.
Okay, maybe.
All right. That's not the real call. That was like a dummy call. JM, any other thoughts of the position? What else are we missing?
No, just real quick on the Hill thing, like for real analysis. They have held DeMarco Murray, LeGarrette Blount, Ryan Matthews, Terrence West, all under 4 yards a carry. Their run defense is better than their pass defense. I mean, it's middle of the road. I think it's 16th in DVOA, but it's better than their pass defense. Their pass defense is, just obviously a mess. So I don't mind the Jeremy Hill play, but I would rather use Jacquizz Rodgers for basically the same exact price. I'd rather use Matt Jones as well against Detroit. So.
What about
Matt Jones a little bit
I
too.
assume nobody is playing. Can we go to our San Francisco expert? I assume nobody's playing Mike Davis or Sean Drone.
I think Sean Drone is the guy that you'd want there. He showed last year that he can be productive, especially in a PPR situation as a check down guy. And I think that there's a chance they'll use him on the goal line. I don't have a great read on that yet, but yeah, he's going to be super low owned, right, at 3K?
Oh yeah, yeah. I
I
think
mean, I don't know. I think as you go down in price, like buy-ins, those guys will be a little higher owned.
You think
maybe
so?
I
not a
think
lot
so.
though,
Like,
4% or something.
There's
Like
just so much value. Everyone's gonna play Gillisley, man, at 3K.
yeah, I mean, like if I'm pivoting off of these guys, Duke Johnson, I think is probably a better play than the 49ers backs. James White's probably a better play than the 49ers backs. I think I'd rather go to one of those guys over going to Mike Davis or Sean Drone.
Yeah, I don't love it, but it is going to be super low owned if you want exposure to the Niners like everyone always wants. All right, let's move on to wide receiver. Everyone's going to want to pay up this week at wide receiver. It is Julio Jones up top with AJ Green, Mike Evans. There's a lot of really good a few really good expensive options. Who's your favorite, Adam? I assume you're going to ride and die with Julio, right?
Everybody knows I ride or die with Julio, man. The guy he's a total freak. And we know no Jason Verrett. We know no Brandon Flowers. I mean, Casey Hayward has played well for the Chargers, but I don't expect them to try to shadow Julio Jones with Casey Hayward. And if they do, it's just Nazi. I mean, whatever. I wouldn't be worried about that whatsoever. So, yeah, I think Ryan to Julio will be the most popular stack this week, and with good reason.
Fair enough. Yeah, I can't disagree with that at all. JM, any reason to fade Julio this week?
Oh yeah, plenty of reason. I would like to match it more if they tried to shadow with Hayward, because we've seen when, like, Antonio Brown, Julio Jones, when you try to match them up with one guy, these guys can just go nuts. Or even these Chiefs cornerbacks in these man coverage spots where against Amari Cooper or whoever it is, these guys will just go nuts. Like if they use two guys on Julio all game, I mean, he has one game all year with double-digit targets. He has 5 games with single-digit targets. I like Julio this week, but I'm just saying I think he can easily be faded in tournaments with how much how much goodness we have at the high end of the wide receiver range outside of Julio. I think Julio's clearly one of the top plays, but you could easily, I mean, the Chargers are top 10 in DVOA and yards allowed per pass attempt against the pass. It's not like this is some easy matchup. And I know every Chargers game and every Chargers game and every Falcons game outside of their games against the Broncos has combined for 50 or more points. So, like, we can expect a lot of points, but we could also see Julio end up with, 7 targets and 60 yards and no touchdowns.
How dare you?
Yeah, like I don't mind fading him in tournaments at all.
What about this idea? You play Matt Ryan, but then you don't have Julio Jones.
Yeah, I don't mind that either.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'm probably going to go the other route because I'm at Kaepernick.
Kaepernick and Julio.
I don't know.
I kind of like AJ Green more than Julio, to be honest. The Browns are so bad on defense or against the pass that every team just locks onto their number one target. I forget the exact numbers. I wrote it up earlier this week in the NFL Edge, but every team, their number one target has had 9 or more targets, and like nobody else has had even half of that, or had just exactly half of the number one target. So like Jordan Reed had 9 targets. Jarvis Landry had 12 or 14. So like every team except the Patriots is just locked onto their number one guy, and that guy's gone ham. And so like there's no reason for the Browns don't present a challenge. So AJ Green is going to be open, so why not just throw it to him 12 to 14 times? Especially if Eifert is limited this week or out. Like AJ Green, I think, has a better target projection than Julio, at least that, so I don't mind AJ Green over Julio if you're in a bind.
That's fair. Adam, what about guys for a little bit of savings? Do you have any value plays you like this week?
Yeah. I'll say that I projected Mike Evans to have the most targets out of anybody this week, more than AJ Green and more than Julio Jones. But at the cheap range, I think Pierre Garçon with Jordan Reed out, I think makes sense against Detroit at 3,700. I mean, he saw 11 targets last week, and I don't think it was a coincidence that happened with Jordan Reed out. We know Garçon does not go deep down the field anymore. He kind of runs in the same areas of the field where Jordan Reed did. So I'm okay with Garçon. I think the guy that'll be popular, or the 2 guys that'll be popular in the sub 5K range, will be Tyrell Williams, the Gazelle, and Golden Tate. And we know Ebron's out. We know Theo Riddick's out. Last week, Golden Tate, Anquan Bolden, and Marvin Jones combined for 80% of Matthew Stafford's targets. I think that'll probably happen again, making Golden Tate a pretty good play at 4,900. And then on Tyrell, I mean, the concern is that he'll see a lot of Desmond Trufant. I'll actually be more interested in Tyrell if Travis Benjamin can play. Travis Benjamin looks like a game time call. I kind of think he'll be able to play. And if he is able to play, I feel like Atlanta is less likely to use Desmond Trufant in shadow coverage on the Gazelle. So Gazelle is 4,400. Like, I feel like maybe fading him, but 4,400 is just so cheap.
Yeah, there are a couple of cheap guys I like. They're going to be super low owned. Marquise Lee is one. I texted you guys about him. 6 to 7 targets every week since week 2. Hasn't had any touchdowns yet, but like there's going to be a week where he gets 6 catches and scores a touchdown, and he's going to be extreme value.
Yeah, if I was thinking about putting, 5 or 6 figures in play this week, I think that I would really want to have Kaepernick and Marquise Lee and Jack Doyle. Like, those would be the guys that I really want to. Those would be the kind of players I really want have a lot of money invested in.
You still don't know tournament life, man. You're still Mr. Cash Game guy. You got to do this.
JM, listen, I understand going off the board. Jeremy Hill is going off the board. Marquise Lee is going way off the board. And maybe he has a good game. But if he does, like, I really won't be upset with myself whatsoever.
I got one you'll hate even more, dude. Robbie Anderson's playing like 100% of snaps.
Hashtag preseason. I'll never say anything bad about Robbie Anderson. You can make a case Robbie Anderson was probably the best receiver, or at least the most productive receiver in the preseason.
Yeah, I think he's talented. He's going to be less than 1% owned, 3K min price, and he can have some deep ball upside as well. So I'm going to have a little bit of Robbie Anderson exposure. Out of these crazy guys, Jam, any interest in either of them, or do you have a cheap guy yourself that you like?
By crazy guys, do you mean you two or the wide receivers we talked about?
Yeah, do you have any interest in that?
No, so Marquise Lee, to me, isn't a crazy off-the-board play. Like, at his price, to me, the upside maybe isn't as high as what you would want. But Marquise Lee is seriously cash game playable with the targets he's seeing at that price.
Yeah.
I don't think, like in tournaments, I don't think he's going to have a 30-point game that you're going to be like, God, why didn't I play him? Because, there's other guys you can get at that price who could also hit whatever his ceiling is. But I like Marquise Lee. I think the guy – so first off, I like Tyrell Williams a lot. I like Michael Thomas this week because, Brandon Cooks is so much more disappointing on the road, and Breeze still gets yardage on the road. He still averages close to or over 300 yards per pass attempt, per game over the last few years on the road. And so Michael Thomas is a solid play this week. People ask about Marcus Peters. Marcus Peters isn't like some coverage maven. He's a gambler who makes a lot of big plays. He's aggressive. He'll go for the ball, but it's still a good matchup for Michael Thomas. I like Alan Hearns. I think he has some upside at 5K. I like Golden Tate. But the guy, I think, the cheap guy who could actually get you 25 or more points, Adam, cover your ears, is Quentin Patton. Because
is Adam still here, or did he leave yet?
Because here's the thing, man. Patton had 7 targets last week. Kaepernick's going to throw the ball outside the numbers. Patton had 7 targets last week. He had a carry that was called back by penalty. And that was with Kaepernick throwing only 29 times. If Kaepernick throws 35 times, Patton could see 8 to 9 to 10 targets, and 8 to 9 to 10 targets on downfield throws against a team that gets beat downfield a lot. That provides a lot of upside.
Are you saying if Torrey Smith is out, or just in general?
Either way. I mean, I like Torrey Smith too. This is tournaments only, obviously, but I think each guy has serious tournament upside.
Well, why is he going to get a season high in targets this week?
Well, he had 7 targets last week.
But you said 8 or 9 or 10, right?
Right. So in last week, Kaepernick threw only 29 times. So let's say he throws 35 or 36 times.
Yeah.
And I think those targets go up.
Playing devil's advocate, I don't really have a strong opinion on that. Just curious.
Kaepernick throwing more, to me, is just a chance for him to embarrass himself more. complete like 13 or 14 of them.
Oh man, we're so divided on this.
Here's one to get us all back on track. I don't really have any interest in Adam Humphries because VJax has been seeing 5 or 6 targets per game. So like Lewis Murphy or Cecil Shorts, whoever steps in is going to see 3 or 4 targets. That don't really only creates 2 additional targets. And it's not like Adam Humphries is suddenly going to see 10 looks. Mike Evans has already been seeing like 14 targets a game. It'll just go to him. So
Yeah.
any thoughts there? Agreed?
Yeah, no, I'm on Cam Brate, which we can talk to next. But yeah, I think Brate is a way better play than Humphries.
Yeah, let's move to tight end. Talk about Cameron Britt.
Oh, we didn't even wait. We didn't have two of my favorite.
All right. Let's hear your favorites. Go ahead.
I mean, nobody talked about Allen Robinson and nobody talked about Amari Cooper. I mean,
I don't like Amari Cooper as much this week, but I think the Jaguars defense is actually pretty good. Don't you think?
Okay, that's fine. I actually prefer Allen Robinson too. I think Amari Cooper versus Jalen Ramsey is a matchup that people think like Jalen Ramsey is going to shut him down. It's just not going to happen. Like Amari Cooper is still going to have a good game, but Allen Robinson is absolutely due for a huge game. There's no better place to get it than home against the Raiders. I mean, I tweeted out today, Allen Robinson's usage is almost identical to the way it was last year. Bortles hasn't played as well, but really the big plays just haven't been there. And I think that they will come, and they can certainly come against the Raiders. So yeah, I mean, Allen Robinson hasn't topped 72 yards all season. It's just crazy. Like he's going to have positive regression for sure.
JM, you agree with that?
Yeah, I actually have Amari on like my placeholder team at the moment, and I like Allen Robinson a lot as well. I've been back and forth on several guys in that 7K range all week. Brandon Marshall too is interesting. I don't think I'll go there with Geno at quarterback, but he should see 12 or more targets again. So I mean, yeah, I think we can look to some of these guys in the 7K range. If you're going to say 11 to 12 targets for Allen Robinson against the Raiders compared to 8 targets for Julio for 2K more against in a tougher matchup, like I would still take Allen Robinson there for the savings.
Where are you getting these 8 targets for Julio? You're a hater, man.
Like, okay, how many times has he gone over 8 targets?
He's been hurt. He's been hurt all year. He's finally off the injury report. He's ready to rock.
He's been off the injury report since Carolina, right?
Yeah, and in between there, he went ham.
Did he? I mean, Carolina, I know he went ham, but has he been going ham? All right, one more guy I want your opinion on. Adam, I'll start with you. Golden Tate went off last week. Hadn't done anything the rest of the year.
You're not listening very well. We already talked about Golden Tate.
We talked about Golden Tate?
I said last week that Tate, Bolden, and Marvin Jones.
You can tell Adam's the only dad in the group. Adam's like, he's not listening.
They combined for 80% of Matthew Stafford's targets. I expect it to be the same with Riddick and Ebron out, and Tate is 4,900 still. I mean, it's
like that. Even you re-saying it back, sometimes you'd be like, "Oh yeah, I heard that." I did not hear that at all. I must have been looking at chat.
Recall that I have. You were like talking something went on 5 minutes ago. And you're like, I don't remember that.
Yeah. All right, so we're good on receiver. We can move on to Cameron Brate now, right, guys?
Yeah, I'm good.
Mike Wallace is in my Jeremy Hill range, but that's it. That's the last I'll say.
Okay, talk about Cameron Brate now.
Cameron Brate, to me, is assuming that San Francisco does the right thing, which Chip Kelly, I thought he was super sharp. He's proved to be just a total dunce. So I can't think that he's going to do the right thing. But if he does, he will be double and triple teaming Mike Evans. Their other receivers are Dante Dye and Adam Humphries and Cecil Shorts and who the hell else knows what else. Cam Brate is 6'5", 230. He is a monster red zone threat. He had 6 red zone targets last year, despite only playing 37% of the snaps last year. He's had games this year where he's seen double-digit targets. I mean, Cam Brate is 2,900. I think his ceiling is way higher than Jack Doyle's ceiling, and kind of guys like that. I like Vernon Davis down in that range. I'm okay with Kyle Rudolph, even though everybody's going to be off of him because that game projects to be very low scoring. But I think Brate is my favorite of the guys down there. And a lot of it has to do with Vincent Jackson being out and because San Francisco allows their opponents to run the third most plays in the league.
Yeah, I like Cameron Brate. Last couple weeks before Carolina, LA 10 targets, Denver 8 targets. Then Carolina, we know how good those linebackers are. So you're not super concerned they only got 3 targets in that one. I agree with you. Like against the San Francisco linebackers with Navarro Bowman out, it seems like a pretty good spot for him. JM, do you like Cameron Brate? Do you like another tight end? Who do you like?
Yeah, I like Cameron Brate. I like Gary Barnidge in that same cheap price range, especially if Terrell Pryor's out. Oh, we didn't talk about Ricardo Lewis either, which, like, obviously, whatever, you shake your head, but if Terrell Pryor's out, Ricardo Lewis has seen 5, 5, and 9 targets the last 3 weeks. He saw 9 targets last week. If Terrell Pryor's out, they have to throw to somebody. Like, and Ricardo Lewis is 3K. I don't hate that play, but Yeah, I mean, Barnage doesn't have a ton of touchdown upside. He's gotten very little red zone usage this year. He doesn't have much after the catch up side, but at 3,200 in a good matchup, that's a place worth looking. And this is maybe the first time in 2 years that I've wanted to roster Rob Gronkowski.
Yes.
Usually I don't want to pay up for him just because there's so much value at tight end, but some of these other guys are getting up there in price, Delaney and Jimmy Graham. And, Gronk is still 7,200, which compared to the wide receiver position, that's still an underpriced guy for what he offers. So I like Gronk a lot this week as well.
It seems like last year we were paying like 8,600 for him, right? And that's
maybe like 78, 79. He probably cracked 8K. And yeah, he was, always putting up 18 to 20 points, but not these huge.
Yeah. Did I lose JM there?
No, he's here.
I think. Okay. I don't know.
Sorry. I don't know if I'm here. So Adam, Rob Gronkowski, I'm all about that. 270-200 should be one of the more popular tight ends, I would think. I would think that Hunter Henry is going to be pretty popular. Jimmy Graham, people are starting to believe in him again. Like, what's the chalk even going to be?
Yeah, no, I think that it's Gronk. And then I think, I can't believe I'm saying this. I think it's Jack Doyle. Like, everybody's talking about Jack Doyle. I mean, somebody tell me, like, I don't know. Like, I think about would I roster guys – the starter in this spot. It's like, would I roster Dwayne Allen? And I get it that Jack Doyle was perhaps taking a little bit away from Dwayne Allen, but Eric Swoop is going to play also for the Colts. Like, would you roster Dwayne Allen at 2,500 in this spot? Like we wouldn't be excited about it, but everybody's excited about Jack Doyle.
I think people would be excited about Dwayne Allen at 2,500, wouldn't they? I don't know. JM, your thoughts on Jack Doyle? I don't mind it, but
Tennessee's a pretty good defense, but I'm with Adam on Swoop. Like, he's going to step, if they run 2 tight end sets, it's not like Doyle's suddenly on the field and hasn't been all year. They've been running a ton of 2 tight end sets, and Swoop's just going to step in and take targets. There were times earlier this year where people rostered Dwayne Allen because he was in a good spot, and then Doyle comes out of nowhere and catches these touchdown passes. So, I could see that happening. I don't mind Doyle, but I'm not going out of my way to roster him either.
Yeah. I will say that, like, I think you're going to get low ownership on Jimmy Graham because he's gotten expensive and because the matchup is extremely difficult. But given the way Jimmy Graham is being used right now and given the way his athleticism looks, like, he's one of the few tight ends that I'm like, oh, he got 100 yards. That makes sense. You know what I mean? So I think anytime you have that at the tight end position, I'm totally fine with it, even at 5,800, even in a tough matchup.
Oh, if he's going to be low owned, I am all about Jimmy Graham this week.
I think he'll be low owned with the matchup for sure.
Wow. Yeah. I figured it'd be pretty popular. Just look what he's doing the last few games. Like, it's pretty much over 100 yards is what he's averaging and 8.5 targets. Like,
2 other guys, Dennis Pitta got 10 or 11 targets last week with Steve Smith out. He's still not getting red zone usage, which is a bummer. But if he could top 100 yards, he could get a touchdown. And Martellus Bennett, he was on the field 64% of the plays last week, which is a big drop from the week before. But he's still out there a lot, and he's still getting looks. He has, I think, only 3 fewer targets than Gronk the last 2 weeks, and he was on the field more in the second half when the Patriots offense got going, had more targets in the second half. So I could see him being a good value this week at 4,500.
Let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Everybody likes Brate, right? We all like Brate. We all like Mike Evans. We all like Jacquizz.
I don't know where this is going.
Is this too many bucks in a road spot? And B, can you roster Jameis and just not roster Evans and Brate? You know what I mean?
Well, I wouldn't mind rostering Jameis with them. Like, why not include them?
I'm talking about in cash, but yeah, I mean, okay. You could, like, if the Bucks go out there and lay an egg and you have Jacquizz, Brate, and Evans, you could be in serious trouble,
That's fair. I don't think I like Jacquizz as much as everyone. Like, I think he's fine, but getting exposure to that passing game is certainly something I'm interested in. So I wouldn't mind having some Jameis. What about you, JM?
I mean, some Jameis isn't my language since
that's true. You do one lineup.
Yeah. One lineup or 2 lineups, but no, like, I've looked at Jameis. I think that I'd rather have Dalton at 6K than Jameis at 5,900. I know, like, the strategy behind it of getting exposure to these wide receivers, but I'd still rather have Dalton or Mariota than Jameis. I think that target distribution is so narrow that Evans can have a huge game at wide receiver without Jameis having a huge game at quarterback. Even Brait and Evans could both have a big game without Jameis having a big game. So I'd rather go to Dalton or.
And Adam, you don't want to play Jameis in cash, right? Like that's the worst cash game quarterback.
I won't be playing Jameis in cash, no, but it's just like I'm feeling like I'm going to end up with too many bucks, and that scares me.
Yeah, I know how you feel. Who else at tight end?
I think we hit on a lot. We didn't hit on Travis
You
Kelce.
guys like Delaney?
Yeah, Delaney and Hunter Henry you didn't really talk about. I mentioned Hunter Henry really quick. I like Delaney. I talked about it in the receiver section. I think that I love the guys that really burn everyone the week before, and then the next week they're going to go low owned for no reason. Like, to me, Delaney Walker seems like a great tournament play. Your thoughts, Adam?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was on Delaney last week. I think I played Delaney on FanDuel, which hurt, but I didn't see any reason to think that he won't come back and have a good game this week. And we didn't talk about Travis Kelce either. I mean, I'm not really on the Chiefs pass game like a lot of people are, but it is an amazing matchup for sure. And you could see Kelce actually getting some serious yak ability here.
Yak ability. JM, your thoughts on those guys? You brought them up, but what do you think?
Delaney, I think, I think we're kind of seeing that the Titans pass game is tournament only as far as the receivers, because Mariota's been held under 30 pass attempts in back-to-back weeks, which have both been wins. I think they have the third lowest or fifth lowest passing play percentage in the NFL. You know, they prefer to run the ball. So in a game like this that they can control, we might again not see Mariota go over 30 pass attempts, which I think that's kind of why the weird target distribution to Delaney. But in tournaments, I like Delaney a lot, where if he gets 8 targets, he could be the top tight end on the weekend.
All right, let's move on to defense. We got about 6 minutes for that. Jam, I'll start with you, man. It seems like New England is going to be pretty popular. Baltimore going against Geno Smith. Those are a couple of road teams. Are you okay with that at this point in the season? I know we've gone back and forth on whether we should take road defenses in fantasy.
Yeah, I like both of those defenses. I mean, I think that obviously it's preferred to take a home defense, but other positions were more willing to be flexible, because you can point to, this player's talent, or they'll get this usage or whatever. Like on defenses, it seems so arbitrary that we're like, okay, well, they're on the road, so scratch them off. But if you kind of dig in, you can still find that it's, like Patriots against Landry Jones is still a better matchup than a lot of these home teams have. I like the Patriots a lot this week. I like the Jets if Joe Flacco is out and Ryan Mallett is stepping in. Right now it looks like Flacco will play, but I could take the Jets against Ryan Mallett for sure. The Titans are like 4th or 5th in the NFL in sacks, and Andrew Luck has taken more sacks than anyone in football. The Titans have 6 sacks in back-to-back games. So, and Jack Mehort, whatever his name is, he's out this week, and that's like their only good offensive lineman for Indy. So that's another spot that I like. And I don't mind the Vikings this week either against the Eagles.
They are probably one of the best defenses in the league for sure, especially from a fantasy perspective. Adam, you must be all in on the Bucs this week.
No, I'm not on the Bucs. I think that one that Jam didn't mention that I do like is the Chiefs. I mean, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but the splits for Drew Brees on the road are just so horrific. I think he's a lock to turn the ball over twice. And not only does Drew Brees play so much worse on the road, but the Chiefs defense plays so much better at Arrowhead. So it's kind of like a double storm there. I agree totally with JM on the Titans defense. I mean, they are very aggressive at getting after the quarterback, and this Colts offensive line, especially without Jack Moore, just has no chance to protect Andrew Luck. And then if we're going up top, I mean, I'm okay with Minnesota. I think the Eagles have a chance to play well in this game. I'm not sure how that translates to Minnesota's defensive scoring, but I think I like the Bengals more than the Vikings. I know Cody Kessler has played above expectation. That doesn't mean that he's played well. And if they don't have Pryor, I mean, they really have nobody. I mean, we got JM out here talking about freaking Ricardo Lewis. I mean, we should be talking about the Bengals defense.
You're feisty this week, man. Ripping on all our plays. No, but JM, let me go back to you. What are you seeing yourself this year doing in regards to defense? And I bring this up because for me, I'm noticing that most weeks I'm ending up paying down on defense on DraftKings and paying up on FanDuel just because of the price discrepancies. Have you noticed any patterns so far in how you're building lineups?
The pattern that I've noticed is I think I've gotten at least 8 points from my defense every week and not double-digit points a single time.
Interesting.
So I don't know what's going on there, but I did use the Vikings that week. They were chalky and got like 15 or 16 from them. But no, like I think it's a lot of what we talked about last year is looking for opportunity, like what creates the most opportunities for turnovers, which a lot of times is mistake-prone quarterbacks or pressure on a quarterback. So like Andrew Luck doesn't throw a ton of interceptions. The Titans don't get a ton of interceptions, but if you could, mark them down for between 4 and 6 sacks, then that increases the likelihood of a fumble and maybe picking one of those up and taking it to the house. Landry Jones is probably going to throw a couple picks. Like Adam said, Drew Brees he'll throw for 300 yards, but he'll also throw 2 picks. So I think that's kind of what we're looking for is just where can you get these turnovers and, hopefully that turns into some upside.
Adam, anything to add to that or final thoughts on defense?
No, I think that's good.
All right.
Hey, one quick thing on that, actually. We kind of think of fumbles as fluky, but some team, if you watch games, some teams actually are really adamant about trying to force fumbles and some teams just don't really do it. The Bills have recovered 6 fumbles this year in addition to their 6 interceptions. They're playing the Dolphins again on the road, but that's another good spot. Not like the Bills will go overlooked, but just to say, I don't think that their high turnovers are totally fluky. We saw that with the Eagles a few years ago. Just super aggressive, go after the ball, and creates a lot of turnovers.
Yeah, it has to do with Rex being like a point of emphasis for him. Rex Ryan.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about some stacks. We got a couple minutes left in this show. Adam, I'll start with you. Do you have a favorite stack that you like this week?
Yeah, and maybe this doesn't make sense from a tournament theory perspective, but I think in an effort to capture all of the touchdowns from the Cincinnati Bengals this week, you can roster Andy Dalton, AJ Green, and Jeremy Hill. And I know Dalton to Green will probably be popular, but if you throw Jeremy Hill in there, you differentiate yourself and you have a chance to get all the touchdowns. Like I said, I think Gio will be removed from that goal line role that we saw him in last week. So, you can get 2 touchdowns from Jeremy Hill, 2 from Dalton to Green. And now we're in business. So I like that one a lot.
GM.
Bortles to Robinson, Bortles to Hearns, Brady to Gronk. I like the chalky stacks too. I like Matt Ryan to Julio Jones. I like Phillip Rivers to Tyrell Williams. I like Dalton to AJ Green, but those are some ones that the people will overlook. Bortles to one of his guys or Brady to Gronk, and I think you can capture a lot of upside there.
Yeah, I think Adam might have convinced me to maybe throw a Jameis lineup in there because I think he is going to get overlooked. And everyone's on Mike Evans. We like Brait a lot. That seems like a really good stack to me. Include both of those guys with Jameis, and you've got an interesting tournament team for sure. That pretty much wraps it up for us.
Mariota to DeMarco Murray. He's one that
there you go.
Overlook just because they think they're not correlated, but Murray's their red zone target.
Since you brought that up, here's something that's pretty interesting. People think of running backs and tight ends as negatively correlated because of how touchdown dependent they are. Would you ever stack DeMarco Murray and Delaney Walker with Mariota, Jam?
Yeah, I mean, again, like Murray has 3 carries. He has 3 carries inside the 10-yard line, but he has 5 targets. So they're going to pass to him inside the 10-yard line. I think that you can capture touchdowns from him and Delaney and throw Mariota in there with them.
Adam, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I consider Delaney Walker the number 1 receiver in their offense, not just a normal tight end. So I think it's a little bit of a different case there for Walker. I have no problem playing him in that stack with DeMarco.
All right. One question. We're going to do one question this week. A guy's asking if he should play Chris Hogan. Adam, I need your answer right now.
I mean, Chris Hogan, I think, at least has a chance for a big game. He might only see 5 targets, but I think Jam's made the point that Chris Hogan has the ability to actually, have over 100 yards on 5 targets. He's done it, and he seems to at least he has a good quarterback. It's not like he's catching passes from Colin Kaepernick or Cody Kessler. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that would seem like a decent way to differentiate your Brady stack for sure. I don't mind that at all. JM, final thoughts before we get out of here, man.
No, trust your research this week. Trust the numbers. We'll see you at the top of the leaderboards.
That's it. I'm supposed to kill a minute, and you give me 5 seconds of analysis. Awesome. So
I figure that Adam's going to kill. You're going to have to jump in and cut Adam off.
You have like 40 seconds now, Adam. Go ahead.
So the first thought that comes to mind is if Twitter's down on Sunday morning, like forget it. I'm withdrawing all entries. I don't even know like what to do if Twitter is down on Sunday. So whoever wins the presidency of the United States, the first priority better to be fix this internet. This is a bad situation, man. This is all I asked for in life. The second thing I want to say is if you plan on listening to these guys and you want to play a Kaepernick pack with Ricardo Lewis and Jack Doyle,
Take my head-to-heads.
Then go ahead and jump in my games. I'll be in all the head-to-heads.
We're not playing them in head-to-heads, man. We're not playing Ricardo Lewis in head-to-heads. But that does it for us, guys. I appreciate you all tuning in. We will catch you guys next time.